Everyone. We are doing another card by card, and this time we are looking at the Four of Swords, and this will be done in two parts for the Four of Swords because I have some other decks I want to do some comparison side by sides to, so you can really get comfortable with the Four of Swords. And I really like and appreciate the Four of Swords for a couple of reasons. When I see the Four of Swords in a reading, it tells me that there's going to come a point, or maybe it was at a certain point, that the querent or the person who's getting the reading had a moment of rest, or will be having a moment of rest. Now, they could come to that rest point willingly on their own, or something could befall on them to cause them to have to go into rest, meaning a cold or an injury or some other calamity. So let's take a closer look at the Four of Swords. All right, so we have here the traditional Centennial Edition Smith-Waite Tarot deck. And I always like to have at least the traditional, or as traditional as this could be, card, so we can kind of look at it. We can look at even the little white book meaning and see what we can glean from it. But let's first just kind of take in our first impressions of this card. We have someone laying down. We have three swords above them and one sword underneath. And the person seems to be calm and at peace to me. I mean, in this particular depiction of the Four of Swords, this person, it appears to be laying in some sort of either castle or church, somewhere where we would expect some stained glass windows. Perhaps a place you could feel safe in. So let's take a look at the little white book that Four of Swords. Interesting. Okay. It says, the effigy of a knight in the attitude of prayer at full length upon his tomb is the description. The divinatory meanings: vigilance, retreat, solitude, hermit's repose, exile, tomb and coffin. Reverse meaning: wise, administration, circumspection, economy, avarice. Avarice? I'm not sure. Precaution, testament. So, for me, when I see this card, I can see all those meanings that are applicable, but it's also one of the reasons why I'm not such a fan of this deck, because I really feel like when the Four of Swords comes up, it's telling you there's a need for rest, there's a need to take a pause for a moment. You're at a stable point in your journey where you can take a pause. The Four is like that stable moment. However, it is a time to assess, recuperate, and then keep going on your journey. So, I don't know. This is our traditional example here. So now we are going to move on to another deck. We have the Four of Bells. This is from the Nuances Tarot. And I really like this particular depiction because it shows this person sleeping. It shows the wind blowing. You see these papers piling up here. It could be a teacher who overslept and just needed to catch up on that rest. It could be a student who has a bunch of schoolwork that's sleeping in on their exam, but you have to get that rest in order not to completely burn out, in order not to completely fall apart, you know? So I really like this example of the Four of Bells or Four of Swords. bells are for swords or air energy for the numinous. Yeah. So you can see it's taken on its own little spin and interpretation. And then over here, we have the Four of Swords, and this person is meditating. Similar though, with the one card going across here and then the three coming down, this person is centering themselves, grounding themselves, and that's symbolic of the four. So with this Four of Swords, it's like this person is in meditation. Maybe they're in contemplation. Maybe it's time to do some contemplation and assessing, going within, resting. And I like also this depiction. I really love the Triple Goddess Tarot. This is what this deck is. One of the reasons is because of this Four of Swords. You know, so when it comes up and I see it for a client, it's like, okay. What's going on around you with the other cards? You know, there's a need to take a moment to rest. Now, you could either, because there's that need, it could either come because you are using your creative powers, your manifestational powers to make it happen, or something else happens that pushes you to the Four of Swords. So it's up to you how you get there. You know, I'd rather be the one that say, you know what, this weekend I'm just going to have a weekend where I'm just resting, recuperating, watching, you know, doing a Netflixing thing and really taking it easy, as opposed to push till I push till I'm sick, and then I'm trying to recover, and now I have this kind of situation going on where I have to deal with it. Next up, we have the Moonchild Tarot, Four of Swords. This person has a beautiful moon, full moon back here. And again, sword going across. I'm not sure what. I know that there's a particular meaning why the three swords, and perhaps one of you lovely people can share that with me. Why is the one sword going across here and the one? I mean, I guess we can take a look and surmise for ourselves. You know, things have been going on, but at this point, you've been on your journey with the Three of Swords back here, but now it's time to lay down and rest. I don't know. But I really was drawn to the Moonchild Tarot also because of this beautiful Four of Swords. It's got these little lotus flowers drawn on there. It's like, serenity here. This person is at this point also downloading information from spirit and really connected during this time of the Four of Swords in their life. It's a very soulful deck, the Moonchild. Okay, now let's move to one of my favorite Four of Swords or Four of Air. It is the New Era Elements. And this is Four of Air, and the key word on it is truth. Now this is more of a thought-based deck. I mean, it is also, you know, Rider-Waite-Smith inspired, but I'd say that, yeah, I like it. It's a great little card here, and you could either take it for the Four of Air that you know it from, you know, your Rider-Waite-Smith interpretation, or you could take it for looking at the actual key word, or you could look at the picture and kind of get a sense of what's going on here. For example, I like to do big expansive readings. What I mean by that is I like to look at bigger global energies, or like energies affecting us, like a weather forecast, if you will, like a tarot forecast, and looking at it energetically. I like to look at it at the person to person level, me and a client level, and I also like to look at it expansively. So I do these Rebel Soul readings over at my website, Abundant Life Tarot. And in in one of the readings, I did one about the government shutdown in the U.S. And this card came up when I asked, goodness, when is this thing going to be over, and how is it going to be over? And this card came up, and it was like, whoa. It kind of spooked me a little, because look at all the sea of birds. It got me to thinking about, this is the population as a whole, or it could have been the sea of, you know, all of the Senate, all of the Congress, all of, you know, the bodies of government coming together for a truce. It could have, I mean, and we saw it all play out. It did come to a point where the Republicans and Democrats had to come together to say, no, this needs to come to an end, and they made it happen for all these little sitting birds or whatever. It's just, and these have been sitting birds, not because they really wanted to, right? But because they were forced to be furloughed. They were forced to have to be, essentially, not even unemployed, just not getting paid. I mean, it's so crazy, right? It's so crazy. So they're sitting, I mean, these aren't ducks. I forgot what they call these birds. But they look like ducks to me. They're like sitting ducks, essentially. So I thought, wow. So I used this deck. It's one of the decks I use in my Rebel Soul readings, because I like to look at the overall energies. And I like to ask a question to kind of do a touch base, like see, okay, are we in predictive energies right now? Or are we into what should we do now energies, like prescriptive energies? Prescriptive energies to me are like, okay, what should I do next? How should I work with these energies? Predictive, it's like, okay, this is what's in the forecast right now based on all the current things going on right now. Now, if you do X, Y, and Z, things could change course, and you do another reading in a few days, it's a totally different outcome. You know, so I digress. Anyways, let's move on to the next Four of Swords that I have here. This is from the Zombie Tarot. This is a new deck to me, believe it or not. I know I could have gotten this deck many moons ago, but I didn't. Oh well. So I love this Four of Swords. Like, all this is going on outside with the zombie apocalypse, where he has the bullseye or whatever, the crosshairs on the situation, but he's hunkered down. He needs to rest for a moment before he goes out and fights that fight again, you know? So this is like a good literal Four of Swords to me. Like, there's some things going on right now in my life. I just need to hunker down and rest a moment and get clear and assess where I'm at and where I need to go next. So, yeah. Turns out I really am enjoying this deck. Really, very much so. Okay. Next up, we have this is the Four of Swords from why can't I ever remember it? It is Tarot of Haunted House. I always want to call it the Haunted House Tarot, but it's Tarot, I think, of Haunted House. Anyways, so we have all Four Swords pointing down, something creepy kind of crawling up from underneath and grabbing at her as she's resting. She's in a deep slumber here, in fact. Let me look, actually. Every now and then I kind of want to touch base and look at some of the different guidebook meanings. so you can get a flavor and taste of that. Okay. It says Four of Swords, the creature under the bed. Sleep brings peace, yet what real and imagined, or it says imaged monsters lurk around the corner, under the bed, and inside the closet. Reflection, peace, withdrawal, solitude, repose, retreat. Let me read that again. It says, the creature under the bed. Sleep brings peace, yet what real and imagined monsters lurk around the corner, under the bed, and inside the closet. Reflection, peace, withdrawal, solitude, repose, retreat. And then we have the Steampunk Tarot. And so this gentleman is laying down. He's got a sword down here. He still has his hand on the sword. He has to be ready, of course, but he's getting in a nap. He's getting in a rest. Sometimes we just have to lay down our swords for just a moment, get a rest, and then get back at it again. We've got a little time with the hourglass here. It's quite lovely, actually. When I look at it, I rarely use the steampunk. But when I pull it out, I'm like, oh my goodness, I like this card. I like this deck. Okay. Next up, I'm going to discuss the Hip Chicks Tarot. And this is the Four of Think. I love the Four of Think. I mean, she's laying here. I like that it's, okay, we're in the energy of think versus feel, which would be like the hearts, I think is, and create is wands, and I think earth is, well, the pentacles energy. So here's Four of Think. She's resting. I like this deck. This is my, like, right now it's just a deck for my personal use. I haven't used it in, I think, any readings for others. Maybe one person. But yeah, this tells me when I'm doing readings for myself, it usually is like, girl, you need to go get some rest. Okay, and then finally, you have the Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. That's how you say it. Tarot of the Sweet Twilight. And here is its Four of Swords. Yeah, this is quite an interesting Four of Swords, isn't it? So it's got two swords here, one leaning up against the tree, one leaning up against the ladder, two laying on the ground. This person just laying around. There's a cat here. So again, just taking a moment to regroup, relax, restore, recalibrate. We're at a stable point where we can do so on our journey. Really enjoy that too. I was going to see if, yes, it does. I have the little white book here for this one. Okay. Okay, listen to this. It says, everywhere, troubles of every sort surround and follow you. There is only one sensible course of action. Find a peaceful spot and give yourself over to it. Rest and ground yourself. Then deal with all the problems. I love that. So cool. So you can see how in a reading, how if there's other cards with this particular Four of Swords or what have you, you can see like, oh, this is what you may need to consider doing, or this is what may be coming up for you. And that could be a nice little you know, open sigh for whoever you're doing the reading for yourself, if you're doing the readings for yourself. So yeah, this is part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. We're going to look at some more Four of Swords, so we get really familiar, and so I can show you some of my cards in my collection. I did not, there's only a few tarot decks that I didn't include because some of them had a lot of nudity, and I know, like, I can certainly show them, but I want all audiences to feel comfortable looking at the cards for the most part. And there were some that were just like, no, I think I want to show a good different variety of cards. Some of them would have been repeating some of the similar themes that we have, and even within these they kind of repeat, like these two, like these two, they kind of have this situation going on, right? Meditation, if you will. And then this one is kind of similar to, like, all of them that are laying down. I mean, several, right? Several. Got the laying down situation going on. And then over here is where we've got a little unique depiction. So there you have it, folks. That is part 1 of the Four of Swords card by card. I'll see you all in part 2. Thanks for watching.